Hey y'all, today we're going to talk about an herb that was once used widely in herbal medicine and still should be today, but for some reason it doesn't show up in a lot of books. You may notice that's a pattern with a lot of the herbs I talk about. I want you to be able to find the common, easily accessible plants that you can use rather than thinking you have to order something, well, a lot of times from a foreign country or some exotic sounding herb that costs a lot of money when there are very useful, simple things you can use, such as this. This is a wild grapevine. Okay, a little tattered. The bugs got to it. It's June. It doesn't have grapes yet, so I'm not entirely sure what grape type this is. What variety? It is more than likely some kind of muscadine, um, but I couldn't say for sure. I was in the central part of North Carolina, and I just saw it hanging there. I thought, well, I'll grab that and use it. Most of the writing on grapes is going to talk about the European varieties because a lot of our tradition comes from Europe. Um, Plants for a Future, I believe, lists about 35 or so grapes that have medicinal value, but says nothing of muscadine. Now, it does talk about the northern fox grape, which is more like a Lambrusco variety. I would imagine most wild grapevines can be used interchangeably, though I'm sure some of them have certain specific actions. You're just going to have to explore it, okay? And I'm going to talk, Dioscorides, when he wrote, he just talks of wine grapes and wild grapes. St. Hildegard just talks of wine grapes and wild grapes. So I'm going to give you their words, and you can explore this a little on your own. And then I'm going to tell you what Plants for Future says about the northern fox grape. The fox grapes that they call northern fox grapes are very similar to a variety that does grow in much of North Carolina. Our muscadines and scuppernons tend to be in the eastern part of the state, specifically around Duplin County, Bladen County, Robinson County, all that. Long tradition, Columbus County, of making wine with those grapes. And they are different than your Vitis vinifera, or Vitis vinifera, however you want to pronounce it. But they're grapes. Okay, grapes are grapes. The funny thing, what this reminded me of, I'll try not to be too long-winded here. I was walking the dog one day, and I came across a neighbor who was just sweating and working hard in the summer heat, tearing wild grapevines out of his hedges. And I stopped chat for a minute, give the man a break because he looked like he needed it. And I said, "Boy, it's a shame, you have to tear out those grapes, but I understand they're getting into your landscaping." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "The grapes are delicious." He said, "You can't eat those." I said, "Why not? They're grapes." "How do you know they're not poisonous?" "Because they're grapes." I mean, you can make wine out of them, you can make jam out of them, you can eat them fresh out of hand. They're grapes. Grapes are grapes. There are specific differences between the variety, but grapes are grapes. And I even saw one, I was out harvesting wild grapes one day, and I spotted a bunch of them growing up in the trees at a fellow's house, and I didn't know him very well. And I asked him, I said, "Do you mind if I go on your property and pick these grapes?" And he said, "What grapes?" "Look up. Grapes everywhere, right?" He said, "I've lived here 20 years, I've never seen them." Let's be a little more aware of our surroundings, people. All right, let's see. What did Discordy say about grapes? Now, of the wild grape, he said, having dried the sweet-smelling shoots or buds of the wild grape, put it in oil of unripe olives and stir it around, churn it upside down, and leave it so for 2 days. Afterwards, strain it out and store it. It is astringent, equivalent to rosacea, except it neither loosens nor softens the bowels. That which carries the smell of the shoots or buds is the most approved of. Then of the wine grape, he said, and this would be one of your Vitis vinifera varieties, of course. He said, well, let's see. He also had one he called, well, let's see. That was Vitis nigra. That actually could be confused with another plant, so I'm not going to get into it. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you of the wine grape. He says the leaves and tendrils of the wine-bearing vine, pounded into small pieces and applied with polenta, that's an interesting use, lessen headaches, and the inflammation and burning of the stomach. The leaves do the same, applied by themselves, as they are cooling and astringent. Furthermore, the juice of them, taken as a drink, helps dysentery, blood spitters, gastritis, and women that lust, even it was an aphrodisiac. The tendrils, steeped in water and taken as a drink, do the same things. The resin from it is like gum thickening about the stumps, and taken as a drink with wine, it draws out the stones of the urinary and kidney. Rubbed on, it heals the lichen. That was a skin disease. We could say we could say it was probably like psoriasis. Um, well, he described it as a parasitical skin disease, but yeah, I'm thinking it was probably more like psoriasis. But he also said it's good for leprosy. But you must first rub the place with saltpeter. That's potassium nitrate. The liquid that sweats out from a burning green branch, smeared with oil, removes hair, and rubbed on warts takes them off. The ashes of the branches, husks, and seeds after the grapes are pressed, smeared on with vinegar, applied around the perineum, heal venereal warts and glandular fevers. Applied with rosacea vinegar, it is good for dislocations, viper bites, and inflammation of the spleen. Now, you wouldn't think that all that of grapes, would you? Plants for a future, like I said, they list the northern fox grape, but not our muscadines or anything like that. And that's Vitis labrusca, which is probably a lot like what Dioscorides was using when he was talking to the wild grapes. They say the leaves are hepatic. An infusion has been used in the treatment of diarrhea, hepatitis, stomach aches, fevers, headaches, and thrush. Externally, the leaves are poulticed and applied to sore breasts, rheumatic joints, and headaches. The wilted leaves having been applied as a poultice to the breast to draw away soreness after the birth of a child. Now that is what they say. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit what St. Hildegard said. You know, her remedies can be quite interesting. She was writing in 1100, and she was a Christian mystic. She had visions. Angels told her how to use herbs, and I'm not kidding. She's an official doctor of the church. She's a saint. Grapevine. If one's flesh is rotting around his teeth, or his teeth were weak, he should put warm ashes of grapevine in wine, as if he wanted to make lye. He should then wash his teeth and the flesh around them with that wine. He should do this often, and his gums will be cured, his teeth will be strong. Even if one's teeth are healthy, this washing benefits them, and they become beautiful. If someone has ulcers on his body or has been struck with a wound, he should add a third part of olive oil to good, pure wine. He should gently heat this oily wine. When the ulcer or wound is large, when it shows blackness or pus, on the second or third day he should dip a linen cloth in it and rub the ulcer or wound with it until the pus diminishes. If the wound or ulcer is small, he should dip a feather in the oily wine. When it is cold, not heated, he should gently clean the ulcer or wound with it, and the pus diminishes. Now, she also spoke of how the juice that runs out of the grapevine could be used in the eyes to help prevent cataracts. I haven't tried that. I don't know if it's mild enough, if it stings. That's one of those things you'd have to find out the different varieties. And she just says grape. You know, she doesn't say what type of grape was growing in Germany in the 1100s. So get out there and experiment. Remember, grapevines have great fine looking leaves. They have tendrils. These little things that attach so it can climb up a tree. They will form grapes, and a grape is a grape. There's only one wild plant that's poisonous that looks somewhat like a grape, and it's we call it Canada moonseed. If you ever see the two side by side, you're not going to mistake a Canada moonseed berry for a grape, and you're not going to mistake the vines. So just do a little research, double check. If you think you see a grape, pull up a picture of a grape, make sure it's a grape. Smell the grape if you have the fruit. Another wonderful thing about wild grapes is if you're a hunter, like I am, where you see those wild grapes is a great place to scout for game in the fall. Also, of course, a wonderful wild edible, and you can make wine for it and from it. And you know, look up. You'd be amazed what people miss just because they're so focused on those stupid little smartphones these days. There's a beautiful world around us with all kinds of delicious edibles and medicinal plants. So y'all get out there and enjoy it, and I will see you next week.